Absolute Batman issue 21 came out today, and this chapter, if you ask me, is phenomenal, especially what happened at the end of this issue, which we're gonna talk about later. Now, I've never really reviewed an actual comic issue before, so this is my first time. So if you guys want to see more of this, like, comment, subscribe to get me know if I did a good job, and maybe I may read the panel or not, maybe. But yeah, Absolute Batman issue 21 starts off with what happened at the end of issue number 2020, where Batman was facing off against the new Jokers. The new Robins. He's facing off against the new Robins that he ran into at the end of the issue after, escaping from prison, where he went to go see Joe Chill. And there, who was waiting for him was the Scarecrow. So, the issue starts off with Batman getting ready to fight these guys. And you hear, Dick Grayson, aka the leader of the Robin group, telling him to disarm and stand down. Now, Bat, after noticing that he was basically just a pawn for Jack Grimm, his entire life and his whole existence as Batman was nothing but a sick joke for them, he had to let off some steam a little bit. And these boys just and girls, because there is one girl there, these Robins were just happened to be there to help release some steam, as was said later in this issue, as he's fighting against a bunch of mechs. And that was actually kind of cool. This Absolute Batman is the definition of I don't even know what to say definition of. This man just said, I don't even care anymore. He went up and fought a bunch of mech suits, and he was actually like he was winning. Until that one moment where he disarmed them and made it difficult for them to use their sonar to sense him. And I think he was slowly going to disable them. And then out of nowhere, Slade Wilson, he was searching. He realized Slade Wilson kind of found out that Bruce has a team behind him, and realized that he was, and he realized, and he kind of helped the team find out. Well, he let the Robins find out that Absolute Batman as a team, and he was scrambling their sensors. So they fired an EMP to disable, so they can disable Batman's communication with Absolute Harley Quinn and Absolute Alfred. And apparently we learned this issue that Slade and Alfred have history together. Was Alfred the reason why Slade has to put himself together? Maybe. In the next shot, he goes off to Absolute Alfred and Harley Quinn, just having a talk. So what happened? But what led up to that part was the fact that they were after Batman. You don't know. Again, I don't know why. Nervous tick, I guess. When Batman was fighting off against the Robin Gaines, he destroyed he destroyed Duke's suit. And they got their communications. They found him out, and then they released an EMP to cut off his communications with Alfred and Harley. He was trying to escape, but while also trying to escape, again, he defeated Duke. Jason, yes, Absolute Jason. He sees him. And he opens fire. While opening fire on Batman, she levels an entire apartment complex. Luckily, the whole area was evacuated, but he leveled it. So right when they dropped an entire complex and they were waiting for the rubble, Dick was just concerned. He gets out of his mech because Dick is an EMT. He's a medic before he's anything else. So he went in there to go see if anyone was hurt or anyone damaged and see if Batman was still alive. But before then, Harley releases an army of drone-like bats that distracts them and completely distracts them and makes it hard for them to get a sense of what's going on. And one of the drones captures Absolute Batman. I don't know why I keep calling him Absolute Batman, just call him Batman, and helps them do a tactical retreat. I thought that was a pretty sick panel. Honestly, there was no way he was gonna win that against a bunch of mechs. But it was a pretty cool. He did take down one mech though, so that's something. And that one shot when he had this cape wrapped around his arm and it turned into some sort of gauntlet thing was incredible. So next part of the issue we go to a flashback. Yes, One thing I've noticed about Absolute Batman is they'll have a very, very, very hard couple of panels and some hard little scenes, and then like they'll have like a flashback right in between it, and then after that flashback, they get back on what's going on in the main continuity. So again, I can't go back to like what's going on now, but like there's always a little flashback in between. I'm not lying. I mean that. Like, go look at most of Absolute Batman's like issues. It starts off very, very hyped up. Then there's like a flashback about something that's important to what's happening currently in this issue, and then it goes back to normal. So then this flashback, we have a picture of back when Bruce was working under Falcone because he had a debt to pay, and his friends bailed him out his debt, but he's still doing it because his friends are in debt, so he doesn't want his friends to get in debt for him. And in this flashback, we just talk about it. This flashback basically just shows off Bruce and Gordon's relationship and how Gordon didn't give up on Bruce when he was going through a dark path. And then and then after this whole little sequence we have here, we get to see further on. We get to see what's going on now when they're in Gordon's funeral, and Barbara, Gordon's daughter, in her eulogy talks about how Gordon would never give up on anyone, even if it looks like there was no hope. He would never give up on anybody. I mean, he talks about that was what made Gordon such a great man, because regardless through any circumstances with anyone's in, you'll always see the good in them. I just paraphrase that because I'm not going to break down every single part of this panel, but like that's exactly what she basically says. Well, it's just a paraphrase, like a synapse. And then we get to see the Robins, and you get to see my boy Dick Grayson, introduce himself to Barbara. And I gotta say, Barbara's arms are huge. They're almost as big as mine. Like, this girl did not skip arm day. And you get to see the rest of the Robins themselves. And one thing I do like about this series is, even though it's not following the traditional sense of what these Robins are, you get to tell that these Robins still follow the essence of what the original Robins were in the main storyline. Jason being a hothead and shoot first, talk later. Dick being very compassionate and very understanding and compassionate and empathetic towards people. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know nothing about Duke and I don't know nothing about Stephanie, but yeah, we get to know their characteristics. Oh, minus Tim, because Tim didn't really say a word at all. But yeah, Tim didn't say anything actually. Everybody else talked about Tim, so that's also part of the kind. Let's all ignore Tim Drake. So after the whole funeral, and Barbara just basically tells him that her dad, she ain't messing with the whole Robin program, and y'all should just skedaddle. And she's Team Batman. So after that, we get to see another part where we get to see Bruce's old friends, which is somewhat his, I guess, I wouldn't say they're gonna be his new road gallery, but I do believe they're gonna come back and help him in a sense. Like, I don't want to say they're gonna be heroes. I'll say some of them might just be anti-heroes, and I mean like Killer Croc, the new Absolute Killer Croc, the new Absolute Two-Face, the new Absolute Riddler, the new Absolute Penguin. And they all had a conversation about, at the end of this funeral. And these four guys were all asking one question: did Bruce really kill Gordon? And then Absolute Riddler said, Waylon, you did say Bruce was heading down a dark path. And it's like, not like, and really had to correct himself, like, I didn't mean like that kind of dark path. I mean like something like he's gonna be doing a little bit extra, but he ain't killing nobody. Which, all right, I'm just gonna say this: Absolute Batman kills a lot of people, though. He doesn't kill no one, but like some of these scenes I don't know who's surviving these, man. I don't know if the Absolute Universe have some elite medicine or some sort of elite medical care, but some of the things Absolute Batman does is just like how do you survive? Like, this is anime logic. I mean, Absolute Batman is kind of based off anime, but I digress though. These four, are talking, and these four are all talking to each other, talking about how after the whole Abomination arc with Bane, they've changed and they're not the same guys, and how their brains are completely wired differently than they used to be. Usually, these kind of personas that they kind of wield were very, were very small parts of their personality, but now they exacerbate it and they become dumb, and these dark thoughts that wouldn't really think too much of it are now overcoming them, and now they don't even identify as the guys that they were before. They identify as the nickname that I said, like Two-Face, Riddler, and Penguin. So Penguin even pulled off that little necklace and said, "You're not even the same guy anymore. You're a Killer Croc." But Killer Croc, aka Waylon, I'm gonna call him Waylon, doesn't believe that at all, and says, "We're still us, and how we keep it that way is by helping each other." And that, to me, is basically when it says, we can't let these personas just completely take over us. We have to stick together because we have to remember who we were before this, before we met Bane. And the part that I'm very excited was, and this is this is the end of near the end of the issue, is when you get to see Bruce back at work. It is so crazy to say back at work. Batman has to go to work. Batman got a 9 to 5. Hey, which is harder, streaming or 9 to 5? I don't know. You tell me. 9 to 5. But okay, so Batman's at work again. It's crazy. He's at work, and he's just standing over a ledge, just pondering, looking at everything. Which I don't know how Batman healed up, but whatever. I guess he has to go back to work. I guess, injuries. I guess, he got to pay his bills, so he can't go to the hospital. So yeah, he's at work. He's just bantering out, looking out into space, and then a couple of his co-workers are like, "Hey, you gotta meet this new investor." And the investor pulls up and steps on this beam, and it is Jack Grimm. Yes, Absolute Joker shows up. In my opinion, Absolute Joker, I'm not even gonna lie to you, Absolute Joker to me looks more like Bruce Wayne and Batman himself. Like everything about him. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, I even think the suit goes hard with the red and black. And I think he's wearing Chelsea boots. Yeah, those are Chelsea boots too. So he pulls up on him, just introduces himself, like just straight up says, "Hi, I'm Jack Grimm." Just shows him. And it's just this scene, I don't know why. This reminds me of that episode of Death Note when L sits right next to Light, and he turns around and goes, "Hi, I'm L." And then the whole scene just changed. The tone just kind of changes, and you hear that music in the background, and the whole scene goes black, and L's blue and Light's red, and they're just having a normal conversation. I was like, that's what this reminds me of. That's what this one scene reminds me of. So, in a sense, because he just shows up and just says, "I'm Jack Grimm." Just shows Batman who he is. So Bruce does what he does. He attacks the man, and Jack Grimm, he just grabs it. Just grabs his hand like it was nothing. Like, calm down, pal. You're not gonna do anything. And just stands right there in front of him, unfazed. But then he starts to slowly transform, and Bruce says, I'm not afraid of you. You look pretty scared to me, Bruce." And he transforms and goes, "Boo." And then starts laughing. And this is actually kind of big, because anyone who knows anything about Absolute Joker knows. They start off telling you that Absolute Joker is not a man that makes jokes, never laughs, always serious, always. But then in issue 15, they say that he's not a man that's never laughing, never serious. He's a creature that's always laughing at us. He's making fun of us as we speak. But that's why in this issue he immediately starts laughing after he scares them, and Bruce almost falls, just saves them, and then says, "Nah," and basically just says, "You don't get to do that yet, Bruce." Telling him that you're basically telling Bruce, this was just a sick look. This whole Batman thing was just like a fun joke for us. But I just want to let you know that your life is in my hands, and just leaves. And then at the end, you get to see absolute Clayface just showing up, be like reconstructing himself, and he's constructing himself looking like Batman. This is I'm so hyped for issue number 22. This was a phenomenal issue. This is like a 9.5. This is crazy. Absolute Universe is just always something. It's just like, again, it kind of reminds me like an anime, but not really. It's like an American anime. But that's all I gotta say about this issue, man. And Scott Snyder, and Nick Dragotta, you two are just making something legendary. And God, man, I kind of don't want no one else writing. I don't want to write. Honestly, if you guys gotta take a break, please, just like nobody else, just put the series on hiatus. All right, we'll wait. We don't need new authors or writers. And that's all I gotta say. Ciao.